Your Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency reminds you that now is a great time to take a look at your boating equipment and examine your own safety habits. Remember, safe boating is everyone's responsibility. On this episode of Tennessee Outdoor Journal, we'll hit the Red River with a kayak and some friends, do a little fishing, float down the river, and just take it easy. There's more to it than just buying a kayak off the shelf, putting it on the water and going. Sometimes it doesn't hurt to have a little training. We'll see people become the kayak boss of their dreams. Next, we'll head down to Maury County, just outside of Columbia, where TWRA and some partners are busy trapping turkeys, installing transmitters, and figuring out just what those birds are up to. It's pretty interesting. Then we head down to Trousdale County, where a Soldier's Child Foundation and TWRA are partnering to take kids on turkey hunts in loving memory of their lost military parent. And finally, in a day they'll never forget, a family tells their harrowing story so we don't make the same mistakes they did on that fateful day on the lake. Tennessee Outdoor Journal is opening the cover and inviting you in for a behind-the-scenes look at the work being done every day by your Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. Let's turn the page. What kind of legacy will we leave when our days upon this earth are gone? Tell me who will carry on this work that we've begun, care enough to be the keeper of the dream. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Tennessee Outdoor Journal. Hey, let's open the show today with kayaks, fishing poles, and the Red River.
It's a beautiful, peaceful place to be with great friends. Do some fishing and turn the cell phone off and enjoy life.
This kayak I've had about 5 years now. I really enjoy it, but I've been doing it, about 10 or 12 years. I've seen them with depth finders and fish finders, but I think the simpler, the more you'll enjoy it. If you'll just keep it simple, a rod holder, a place for a cooler, and your bait, and I think that's probably the simpler the better.
I don't want to take somebody out.
The kayak is you can put in about anywhere. Just need to make sure that you've got permission and you've got a life jacket.
Being in Nashville, you need to get out and enjoy nature every now and then and just kind of relax and clear your mind.
This morning it was quiet. It was a weekday and not anybody else on the river on the stretch that we were on, and so that made it enjoyable. And the pace, there's no hurry. Everybody sort of went at their own pace. You'd paddle for a while, fish for a while, and just float for a while. Or you might get out and fish in a spot or two. A relaxing, quiet morning on the river.
Really good fishing too. We caught smallmouth bass today, spotted bass, rock bass, channel catfish. So yeah, pretty good, diverse fishing experience.
This end up here is it's not used as much as some of the other places. It was relatively clean. We saw just a few beer cans, but it was clean. I was tickled to see that. It can get trashy if people don't clean up their stuff. If you take it with you, bring it out, like plastic bottles or any kind of plastic bags or anything like that. Just take it out, and it's a good idea to carry a bag with you or something and pick up stuff that somebody else left or got away from somebody else. We put in on a private access. The guy gave us permission to put in there. But I think one thing everybody needs to remember, anytime you step off, when you're standing on the ground, be it a gravel bar or the bank, you're on private property. unless you're at a public ramp or something, and you need to keep that in mind. And you need permission. You've got to have permission to do that. I think a lot of people think, well, I can stand up in most of the river, I don't have to have a life jacket. Anytime you're in a kayak or canoe or a boat, you have to have a wearable life jacket for everybody. And in the river, if a child is under 13, they have to wear it. They have to have it on. So if the boat or the kayak or canoe is underway, they have to have a life jacket on, and one that fits them. When you put in, know how long it's going to take you to get out. You know, common sense goes a long ways. Plan your trip, know how long it's going to take you to do it. You know, let somebody know where you're at. Don't go unprepared. You know, don't show up at 5 o'clock thinking that you're going to float 7 or 8 miles and be out before dark.
We're on a new ramp here at, it's called Porter's Chapel Public River Access, and it's the newest ramp that we've completed in Region 2, and we floated down to it today, about a 5-mile float, but you can also float downstream to, we've got a public ramp in the town of Adams, and then from Adams you can float on down to Port Royal State Park. There's a boat access area there, so it's really accessible now. Probably, you know, you can actually launch a boat on a trailer, probably facilitate a john boat, maybe a jet boat during some water levels, but definitely kayaks and canoes is perfect for that, and really good fishing too.
Our next story, Kayak Boss.
The Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency strives to keep our waters safe, and that's especially true during the warmer summer months when we see a peak in boating-related activity. We have boater education classes, which are mandatory for anyone born January 1st, 1989 or later. You've got to have that class before you operate a motorized vessel on our water. But where does that leave kayaks? Kayaks don't have a motor, don't need boater education, but you really should have some education.
Or instruction on the land. Okay, if I do fall out, I can't get back in that way or that way, but I can get in this way.
Kayak, Basic Operations and Safety Seminar.
You know, from an enforcement perspective, when we're out patrolling on Hickory Lake, we're seeing more and more kayaks, but what we're also seeing is a lot of people that are new to the sport that have really no idea as far as the laws and safety concerns.
We're a Tennessee crew, and this is kind of what we do on the weekends. We're a life jacket education program. So our goal is to get everyone to wear their life jacket the whole entire time, because you never know when you're going to need it. Give that cord a big rip.
Technically, the TWRA's mission statement is to protect, or what the heck is it? Technically, the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency mission statement is to preserve, conserve, manage, protect, and enhance the wildlife and lands of Tennessee for all Tennesseans. That being said, we're not really in the business of teaching you how to kayak, but Officer Romsdale saw this as an opportunity to be proactive and give people something that they might not get elsewhere.
The industry has just grown tremendously in the past few years, and so they buy the kayak, they have no experience on the water beforehand, and they just come out, they launch them and take off, not having, they don't have a life jacket, they don't have a game plan for that day. They might not have anything in preparations for being out there after sunset, and we run to it quite a bit. So that's, mainly we're just trying to create some awareness that there's more to it than just buying the kayak off the shelf and then putting it on the water and going.
Keep working.
Almost.
That's close. And what if you were almost there. If you can get to the point where most of your body's up here, if you can just hold on and settle out. Hopefully, at the end of this course, they have practiced different ways of launching their kayak, how to maneuver and paddle their kayak, and if they were to enter the water, that they have some way of getting back in So we get them several different options, show them different ways of doing it. And if they can come away with one, at least one way, it just creates an awareness and gives them something to put in their toolbox if they ever find themselves in those situations.
What do you think? I mean, do you feel like this class helped you at all?
Yeah, I think it was really beneficial coming up.
How so? What did you learn?
To be prepared when you fall in, how to get back in. And some of the equipment will be good to have, such as pump it out, row rope, a light. I didn't know about the light.
Definitely was very, very helpful. The deep water, getting back into the kayak, I would never have learned that by myself at all.
I'm very pleased. Everybody I talked to, they seemed to enjoy it, and they came away with something that a lot of them come up with things that they had never tried before, didn't even know that there was options of doing. And so I think everybody enjoyed it. They learned something, and so that's what we come out here to do. And I'm certainly pleased the way it turned out.
Next up, Turkey Study, Year 2.
We're in Maury County today, just outside of Columbia, and we are trapping turkeys, wild turkeys. This is a 5-year study where we're working with the University of Tennessee and the NWTF, and we're trying to put these transmitters on these birds and track them over the course of the year and see what maybe killing a few here and there, how much hunter impact has on some of them.
Well, we're back because really we need consistent years of data. You can't tell what's going on in a population with just 1 year worth of information. So we're coming back, this is our 2nd year, we're coming back for 3 more years after this. So after the 5 years of the project, we should have really good conclusive data and a wide variety of data that gives us information on what's going on with every population in each county.
Ready? Go, 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 go.
Last year was extremely successful, being it was the first year of a research project. Once you start a research project, the first year is always very tough. You have to work out the kinks, you got to see what works and what doesn't. This year, we're starting off a little slow on the trapping season. We've had a lot of rain lately. Birds are sticking to the woods. They're not coming out into the fields onto our bait. So it's been really inconsistent patterns, and it's been hard for us to really pin them down.
But the hardest part for us was finding, 1,000 to 2,000 acre block where every landowner was all in. But once we find that land, we come out, we have to establish bait sites, do a little scout work, try to find out where those wintering flocks are, get as close to the roost site as you possibly can, and put those bait out, and we monitor them. This site here, I was feeding, coming out and checking the cameras, checking the cards, make sure they had enough food every other day. So it's a pretty intensive project, and you can't, a day they go hungry may be a day that you lose them, and you want to keep them on bait as frequently as you can so you can come in and be fairly efficient once the whole crew's here ready to trap.
Down, down, down.
Turkey populations, any wildlife populations change all the time. I don't want to say a baseline because I really don't think in wildlife there ever really is a baseline. But after 5 years of this study, we should be able to say what is going on in the populations. Is it a boom bust? Is it declining? Is it really just a stable and we're just not seeing as much?
Trap them, put them in a box, take them out of the box, do a few little things to them, and turn them really loose right back on the same site. Within days, the UT crew will come back with some receivers, and they'll track those birds to make sure they're all still alive, see where they're moving at, and how long it takes them to come back into their home range here. Of course, we'll have hunting season coming up. We'll see how many we lose to hunting season, and of course, they're perfectly legal to harvest as long as it's a bearded bird. Hunters call the number that's located on the turkey, and it makes for great hunter interaction with as far as our research project goes.
I'm extremely excited about it. I've always wanted to work with turkeys since I trapped my first turkeys in high school with my state agency back home, so I've always wanted to work with them. So for me to be out here running a project of this size and this magnitude for a state like Tennessee that has some of the best turkey hunting around, it's really, really important to me and makes me feel really proud to be doing it. It's going to be a very good study, very informative for the state and for turkey hunters in general.
Our next story takes us on a special hunt, a soldier's child turkey hunt.
We came in there, it was pitch black. We started to set up, we got inside the blind and we started hearing a turkey, you know, doing its thing.
We've got a group called a Soldier's Child in today, and we're getting all the kids together and taking turkey hunting. But we had lots of blinds set up at different spots that we'd put up the last few days, and just hoping to get them a chance at a bird.
Jeremy? There you are. Good morning. Of course, you know you're with Matt. You good to go?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is the first year of a Trousdale County youth turkey hunt with a Soldier's Child Foundation. Basically, each one of them has lost a parent or loved one in active duty military, and that can be for various different reasons. And immediately I saw a need, and I was drawn to it and was excited to be a part of it. These guys with the Army Corps of Engineers, they're gonna take care of you. On this event, we're taking 15 kids. They're from 5 different states. Their ages range from 9 years old to 21 years old. They did get to come here last night and have a nice dinner and spend the night, had a camp out inside after our dinner.
You can take that one home, okay? We now, after 10 years, we're over 3,000 children all across the nation. We serve children in every single state. It's any active duty death. So that could be heart attack, suicide, KIA, KIT, training accident, whatever it is, and even anything post-related, service-related. So if they got leukemia while they're serving in the Army and then come out and die 2 years later, we're serving that family. It's any child, step, adopted, biological, foster, anyone that called them mom or dad, we're taking care of that child, any branch of service. So the number one point is celebrating their lives and loving the memory of their parent.
They're in the opening for me. I guarantee they've been out there for a while. So they may not have that individual that's gonna teach them about the outdoors, whether it be hunting or fishing or boating or anything like that. And you know, it's on it. I mean, it's everybody's responsibility here to try and teach that and pass it on and just try and get them a good experience out in the woods. Okay, I think this is a little bit of a ridge right here.
So we started the outdoor program with TWRA back 5 years ago. And they started with our hunter safety course. And TWRA has championed, this is the truth, TWRA has championed the cause of a Soldier's Child Foundation for our youth. And so we've fished with them, we've hunted with them, everything from whitetail to quail to dove to turkey. And it's just been amazing. I mean, I know people in the office at TWRA only because of this.
Then we finally started hearing them and actually seeing them, but they wouldn't come close to us, so we had to go around and try and catch them off by the lake. I loved, instead of sitting in a blind, actually going and hunting, like going around finding the turkey and actually, you know, try to find it.
That was your favorite part?
Yes, that was the favorite part, because the other times I was just sleeping. Yeah.
I wasn't gonna bring that up.
It's okay. I admit it, I was sleeping. When they were 10 yards away from the tent, but they weren't right in front of me, I was like frustrated a little bit because I couldn't like turn to shoot them, because if I
turned, they would have ran away anyway, but they did anyway. But it was actually very fun. I liked it. I liked all of it.
The main one, and this is the smaller second one.
We've had some shot opportunities. We've had a couple birds harvested. There's going to be a second portion of our hunt that's going to occur this afternoon, so hopefully we'll harvest some more birds.
Let's wrap things up today with a day they'll never forget.
Most Tennesseans can relate to having fun on the water. Activities such as fishing, boating, or just enjoying sun at the lake keep boating officers for the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency busy during the warm months of the year.
Our officers out here all across the state, sometimes people want to give them a hard time because we may stop them out here if they do have a child that's riding on the bow of the boat, or they have a child on a pontoon boat that doesn't have a life jacket on, and they think, well, they're inside a pontoon boat. And sometimes they think that we're just out there writing tickets just to be writing tickets. But they don't see the things that our officers across this state see.
Troy Brown bought his first boat hoping to share with his young family some of the same experiences he remembered from his youth.
I grew up when I was real young. We camped out a lot at the lake. We did a lot of swimming and a little boating when I was a teenager, but that was about it.
As new boat owners, Troy and his wife Julie embraced the lake life. On a warm day in 2015, they even invited friends to the lake.
It was good. The kids were having fun. They were riding on the inner tube behind, and we were swimming, and they were just having fun.
First or second, really, I guess second weekend really on that boat. So I was pretty new to the boat and to the, being back on it with a family, especially because when I was a teenager when I was on it, and I was the one having fun and swimming, and now, that's the first time I had in a boat with the whole family and another family and all the stuff that goes along with all that, so.
There's a certain amount of complacency that comes with coming to the lake. It's water. People don't think of things that could happen. They're having fun, they're enjoying their time, and they get complacent about certain things that they wouldn't normally be so.
11 people were on the Browns' pontoon boat. They swam, enjoyed the sun, and took turns on the tube and wakeboard. Around midday, they took a break and anchored up to grill some burgers. Everyone found a place to sit for lunch. A perfect day at the lake.
And then the guy that we were with said, I want to try one more time. And then we were like, yeah, let's try one more time. And then everybody just kind of sat, and he got back on, and he was gonna go try the kneeboard one more time.
I was looking back, watching the guys pulling to make sure he was okay.
As Troy got the boat up on plane for one more ride, Julie noticed their son Aiden sitting on the front of the pontoon.
When I noticed him, I said to my husband, hey, we need to stop and get them back.
And next thing I know, you feel a bump, and next thing I know, between me and the rider, or my guy was towing, between us, there was a popped up, and was my son popped up.
They recognized it and recognized that it probably wasn't a good idea, but before they could even act on it, it happened just like that, and he was already under the boat and hit the prop.
8-year-old Aiden was now floating, helpless and badly injured in a remote area of Center Hill Lake.
I pulled the throttle down and jumped off.
Somebody said we need to call 911, so I called 911.
I got there expecting the worst because I knew he went through the prop, so I was expecting the absolute worst. Our family friend, Landon, he had Aiden. He picked him up, and my wife was trying to get him on the boat. She bends over to grab him, and he grabs him by the waist and tries to pick him up.
And I took him from him, and whenever I looked down on him, I froze, which is not a good time to freeze. And I remember seconding my breath and thinking, oh my goodness.
I see her grab his arms and pull him up, and I see him put him up, and he just splayed out. And that was pretty bad when I saw that. His face, all I could see, blood was just coming out everywhere. Water. I mean, he was talking, but he was just saying the same, I can't breathe, over and over, kind of like a reflex. That's all he could say. And when he said it, I didn't think he had a tongue left. It was just all garbled.
Troy and Julie found themselves living every parent's worst nightmare. Their young son lay on the deck of the boat, clinging to life as they raced back to the boat ramp.
As I arrived, EMS was already here, and they were loading Aiden onto a gurney and bringing him up the boat ramp. I met them about halfway as they were bringing him up. I could clearly see that Aiden was seriously injured.
He had his life vest on. Once they removed it to try to see the condition of the wounds, his whole chest was completely open. I could physically see his heart beating.
You could see that there was a lot of trauma to his chest, neck, and jaw area. But I could tell that this was very serious, and in my opinion, I really thought that he probably wouldn't survive the accident.
My wife was in her bathing suit, I was still in my bathing suit. We just jumped in the car and left everything. The guys at TWRA took the boat, the car, and everything, and we just left and went to Erlanger from there.
Well, they said, we think he's gonna, we feel like he's gonna make it. We don't know anything else other than that. You know, his hand had been cut, both of his lungs was nicked, had holes in them, his mouth was wired shut, so we don't know about his breathing, and he had been without quality oxygen for a good amount of time. So they just didn't want to lead us to think that, they didn't know what the outcome was gonna be, but you know, they tried to prepare us, but they felt like he was gonna live.
Aiden made it through the night and over the next few days made a miraculous recovery. 3 years have passed since the accident and Aiden has had multiple surgeries, but you'd never know that on a fun day at the lake, he nearly lost his life.
I feel blessed beyond measure. I don't deserve it, and I still don't know the reason, you know.
Education's a big side of it. They have to, you know, for people, anybody listening or anybody that hears my story, you know, just if I'd have took the steps at the beginning, I would have had you know, I wouldn't have had to worry about it. And I was less than a millimeter away, 4 or 5 different places on his body from losing him.
Boating education program is a great program. You know, our officers all across the state offer classes. There's books available through our agency that they can get and study on and take the test themselves. Even if you're of the age where you're not required to have the boating education license, I recommend it, because any amount of education that you can get, just something simple as learning the rules of the road. Who has the right-of-ways out here, who's the stand-on vessel and who's the give-way vessel at certain times and crossing patterns. Most people out here on this lake don't know those. Education for the boating public is key, I think, to keeping the waters of Tennessee safe.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Tennessee Outdoor Journal. We'll see you next time. Tennessee Outdoor Journal is produced by your Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. Tell me who will carry on this work that we've begun, care enough to be the keeper of the dream.